Good evening and welcome to the PRC decommissioning meeting. We're just going to take a couple minutes to let people trickle in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start the public scoping meeting for the PRC 421 decommissioning project. It's June 24th, 2021, 6 p.m. Welcome and thank you for your interest in this project. My name is Eric Gillis. I am the Assistant Chief of the Environmental Planning and Management Division of the State Lands Commission. I'll be overseeing the preparation of the Environmental Impact Report, or EIR, for this project in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA. Next slide, please. All you are joining the Zoom meeting currently see a slide showing notes on the format of the meeting. You'll see a chat and raise hand in the bar below. We'll be using those functions for this meeting. Please note that the meeting is being recorded to be transcribed later for inclusion in the environmental impact report. I have a presentation to share with you describing the project and the CEQA process. When the presentation is complete, we will give more detailed instructions on how to comment in Zoom or by phone, and then open the meeting to public comments. Next slide, please. Our agenda includes introductions and the purpose of this meeting, a description of the proposed project, a quick overview of the CEQA process, and receipt of public comments that are delivered today. We had an afternoon meeting. This is the evening meeting, and it's the same agenda and presentation that was presented at our 2 o'clock meeting. The State Lands Commission is acting as the lead agency under CEQA and preparing an EIR for this project with the assistance of Padre Associates. The commission is working with ExxonMobil as they will be carrying out the project decommissioning. There is a joint review panel for the project EIR made up of State Lands, the City of Goleta, and the California Coastal Commission. With me on the Zoom panel from State Lands is Joe Fable from our legal division, and Jeff Plank and Peter Regan from our Mineral Resources Management Division. And then our Zoom hosts are Mike Farina and Katie Robinson-Phillip. Next slide, please. The purpose of this meeting is for the public to provide input and comment on the scope of the issues and analysis that the State Lands Commission should consider in the EIR. The testimony we are interested in receiving at this point is your comments on the project's range of actions, potential effects, mitigation measures, and project alternatives that you'd like to see considered in the EIR. In the interest of time, please limit your comments to these issue areas. We will be accepting comments, but not engaging in extensive question and answer sessions at this meeting. Comments will be provided, also be provided in writing by email or letter through July 9th, 2021. I'll have more information on that on a later slide. Next slide, please. Going over the project. Most of the project area is on the Sandpiper Golf Course property and adjacent beach in the city of Goleta. Access would be from the gate at the Elwood onshore facility off Hollister Avenue, and an easement through the golf course leading to the two piers. Next slide. Here's a close-up of the two piers, 421-1 pier to the left and 421-2 pier on the right. 421-1 had a water injection well, while 421-2 was the production well. There was just two wells, and both wells were plugged and abandoned pursuant to the California Geological Energy Management Division regulatory specifications in 2019. Next slide. The project components that the EIR will analyze include removal of the soil and fill inside both caissons down to the existing bedrock, including all interior debris. Cutting and removal of well casings down to the existing bedrock elevation and installation of a final welded well cap. Removal of the caissons, external sheet pile and concrete walls, including concrete footings. Full removal of both pier structures and supports to the bedrock interface. Next slide. And continuing, decommissioning, removing the 2-inch and 6-inch pipelines beneath the access road, removal of the access road and supporting revetment, flushing, grouting, and abandonment in place the pipelines beneath the golf course to the EOF, and then final restoration of the site. Next slide. The project will require a beach access location, as you see on this slide. A temporary ramp will be constructed so equipment can get onto the beach for decommissioning activities. In order to build the ramp, access will be required through the emergency access road at the Pier Resort, as you see on the left side of the screen, that curved road going down to the beach. Next slide, please. Major steps in the process of removing the pier and caisson structures are to remove the caisson fill, cut well casing and weld final plug and abandonment cap at bedrock, demolish the caissons, remove the pier structures, recycle and dispose soils and materials, beach site restoration. Specific details on the removal of the pipelines, access road and revetment are currently being developed and will be as part of the detailed project description when we publish the EIR, and those removals will be analyzed in the EIR as well. Next slide. This shows a schematic of the EIR process. We are currently in the notice of preparation scoping period. The next steps will be preparing and circulating the draft EIR, where we'll have additional public meetings during that circulation. Then the final EIR would be prepared, taken to the commission at a public hearing for certification and consideration of the project. I'll present a tentative schedule in a later slide. Next slide, thanks. The contents of the EIR will describe the environmental setting of the project area, disclose the potential environmental impacts of the project and alternatives, propose measures to reduce or avoid significant environmental impacts. The purpose is to provide technically sound information for decision makers to consider in evaluating and considering the proposed project. Next slide. The project could result in potential impacts to the following key resource areas: aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, coastal processes, cultural resources and tribal cultural resources, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology, water quality, land use, noise, and transportation. Other commission considerations not required by CEQA include our environmental justice policy and sea level rise. Next slide, please. Here is a tentative schedule for the EIR. We're currently in the 30-day public review of the notice of preparation that was began June 8th, earlier this month, and goes through July 9th. The next step would be to release the draft EIR for 45-day public review, public meeting. We anticipate circulating that in September. And then commission action on the final EIR and project at our December commission meeting at a public hearing there. And then we anticipate deconstruction occurring during the spring and summer of 2021. Work is anticipated to take approximately 6 months to decommission the facilities. Next slide. Before we open it up for public comments, here are some helpful scoping comments. Identify the location and extensive environmental impacts. Recommend issues to address in the EIR. Recommend alternatives that would avoid or reduce impacts of the proposed project. Now, next slide, please. I'm going to turn it over to Katie to give instructions and call on speakers for people that would like to comment on the project.
Thank you, Eric. So today, in order to provide comment, there are several ways to do so. If you would like to provide verbal comment, please click on the raise hand Zoom feature at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in, you can press *9 to raise your hand, and we'll call on you in the order in which you raise your hand. And then additionally, we are also accepting comments via the chat function in Zoom. The chat is set up to go to the panelists, and we will read the chat into the record. So we will begin the comment period now. So if you would like to provide comment, please either raise your hand or submit it in the chat function. Okay, for our first commenter, we have Andrew Miller.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Miller, and I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of the Santa Barbara chapter of the Surfrider Foundation. Surfrider appreciates the care the Commission's taken in the decommissioning of former oil and gas lease PRC 421, and we're excited to have this facility removed from the landscape and see the beach restored to its natural state. However, Surfrider is concerned that, at least as proposed, the decommissioning project misses a unique opportunity to provide much needed public beach access to Haskell's Beach. We urge you to consider a project alternative that would repurpose the upland assets of PRC 421, including the existing access road, for public beach access and parking. As you may be aware, the city of Goleta presently has 2 established vertical access points that the public can use to enjoy the city's coastal resources. The first trail is located to the west of the project site at Bacara Resort. While the Bacara Trail provides much needed coastal access, the parking area is severely under capacity and fills up early on good beach days. The second and only other location where visitors can park close to the beach is Goleta Beach Park, about 7 miles down the road to the east. There is a pressing need in Goleta for additional safe, convenient beach access so that the public can fully enjoy the coastal resources the community has to offer. And at least since 2006, the city has expressly considered using the access road at PRC 421 for public beach access. The land use element of the city's general plan, policies LU 9.2 and LU 9.3, state that the Elwood oil facility and surrounding area, quote, shall be used for coastal dependent and coastal related recreational uses upon decommissioning. LU 9.3 further considers using the access road, which it identifies as the SL 421 access road, as a connector to a bluff top trail to increase vertical beach access. The city has even gone as far as to identify the terminus of the access road as a proposed beach access point in General Plan Figure 3.1, the coastal access map. And while the general plan discusses the decommission and proper abandonment of PRC 421 facilities, it notably does not indicate any desire to remove the access road. There's a clear opportunity here to take this derelict oil and gas infrastructure that has for decades contributed, at least indirectly, to sea level rise and climate change, and to convert it into something positive for the benefit of the public. We believe that's too good of an opportunity to pass by, and for that reason, we urge the Commission to consider a project alternative that repurposes the access road for vertical beach access and additional parking. And one last point, to the extent the Commission intends to abandon any pipelines or other infrastructure in place, Surfrider would urge the commission to carefully consider how the impacts of climate change and sea level rise might increase the risk of future environmental harm from this legacy infrastructure. Thank you.
Andrew?
Thank you, Andrew. Do we have anyone else who would like to raise their hand and provide comment? And again, you may also submit comments in the chat function.
Okay. Doesn't look like we have any other raised hands. And nothing in the chat. So we'll go ahead and move forward to the next slide. All right. Of course, written comments can be received and postmarked by Friday, July 9th. The preferred method to submit comments is through our email under sequa.comments@slc.ca.gov. And if you could please write PRC 421 Decommissioning Project NOP comments in the subject line. Or you could, of course, send via mail to California State Lands Commission, attention to me, Eric Gillis, 100 Howe Avenue, Suite 100 South, Sacramento, California 95825. And please be sure to include your name and contact information so we could add to the project notification list. The next public meeting on this project will be held after publication of the draft EIR. I'm not sure if it's going to be virtual or in person. We'll see at the time we publish the document. Next slide. So in the meantime, please contact me for any comment or concerns, questions, or requests for notification. Thank you for your interest in this project, your comments, and your attendance. And that concludes the scoping meeting.